how did you meet Meek Mill? How did you first come across Meek Mill?
Yes, so Meek was really random. It's my daughter's grown up in the sports and entertainment business, and she really doesn't get excited about anything. But she was at a stage when she was, I guess, 7 or 8 years old, and we were sitting at the NBA All-Star game, and she starts grabbing my hand, and she's like, Dad. I'm like, Kai, what's up? She's like, that's Nicki Minaj. I'm like, I didn't really even know who Nicki Minaj was. Mm-hmm. That was Meek's fiance at that point. And they were randomly sitting next to us on the court. So it was Nicki and Meek and myself and my daughter. And so my daughter proceeded to aggressively have conversations with Nicki, which she normally would never do. And so Meek and I just started talking, and he's like, oh, you're the Sixers. You know, I know you're from the Sixers from Philly. And I said, hey, what do you do? And Meek started asking me tons of questions. It was honestly reminded me of a different version of myself, because I'm always asking questions and learning. Mm-hmm. And Meek was immediately asking me lots of questions about, well, if I want to do this, how would I do it? And, if I want to build this in business, who would I need to do it with? And so we met, I guess, probably 6 years ago now. And we became, pretty friendly pretty quickly, where he was coming to our games all the time. He was coming out with me and my boys. We were, doing different trips together. And the first 3 or 4 of our years of our relationship was purely based on, guys having fun together. There was absolutely nothing more than that. And then I guess like you would for any good friend, Meek was going through this crazy situation with the criminal justice system. And to be honest, in the beginning, it kind of went in one ear and out in another ear for me, because you hear so many people's problems that you try not to engage with them. Mm-hmm. And then Meek was always in Philadelphia. And I would make fun of him. I'd be like, yo, bro, why are you in Philadelphia? Like, do you want a job at Fanatics? Like, I said, you want to be a ball boy at the Sixers? I would just mess with him, because that's what, no difference than Joel or Ben would mess with me, or I mess with them, just playing with them. And he'd be like, Michael, you don't understand. Like, I'm on probation. I can't leave Philadelphia. And that's when it finally hit me. And this was like summer 2017. I started trying to help him to get off of probation. And I realized that everything he'd ever said to me, it was all now starting to add up, was true. That he had this crazy judge. He was in this crazy situation. And Meek always said to me from the first time I met him, Michael, if I pointed a gun at multiple police officers, that's called suicide. A black kid does not point a gun at multiple police officers. They don't say, like, sir, can you put your gun down? They're trained to shoot and kill. And he told me that from the day I met him on the basketball court, when my daughter was sitting next to Nicki in 2000, whatever it was, 14 or something like that. So fast forward, he said to me the day of his probation hearing, can you come to court with me, because I want you to see this. I never thought anything about it. I'm like, look, I said to my office, can we move things around? I went with him, and that changed my life. Watching a probation officer get up and say, hey, Meek Mill's done everything we've asked. We recommend no sentence. A DA say exactly the same thing. And then a judge say you're going to prison for 2 to 4 years for not committing a crime. That like shook me to my core. And having one of your really good friends go to prison for not committing a crime. Like, I started crying. I looked at him, I said, I'm not going to stop until I get you out of here. He looked at me, he had tears coming out of his eyes. And fortunately, I was sitting next to this woman, Desiree Perez, who's Jay-Z's partner and right hand. She said, I'm not stopping. The two of us were basically unrelenting until we kind of got the situation fixed.
How did Robert Kraft get involved?
So Robert's, I think widely known, Robert's one of my best friends. I talk to Robert, multiple times a day, every day. Robert had met Meek through me. And, Robert had actually been on vacation with Meek and I. He'd been on a couple of boys trips. We went to the All-Star game for Major League Baseball a couple years earlier. And Robert in the beginning would say to me, like, I was spending so much time on this. He's like, Michael, you're spending so much time on this. And it was kind of like he understood the importance, and he really liked Meek, but I'm not sure he fully got it. And then Robert said to me, we were in Turks and Caicos together, and Robert said to me, Meek could call because he would call from prison every day. And I said, hey, Robert, talk to me, because Robert would always like to talk to him and give him a little bit of inspiration. And we hung up the phone. Robert said, I want to go see him right when we land. So we landed in Philadelphia the next day. We went to prison to see Meek. And that was for Robert, I think, a life-changing moment. Robert went there, and Meek is smiling from ear to ear. And I remember Robert saying to Meek, like, Meek, I don't get it. How are you so happy? You're sitting here in prison. You've been here 5 months. You didn't commit a crime. You've told me this is the 4th time you've been sent to prison for not committing a crime. Like, what? Like, how are you? I'd be so mad. And Meek looked up. He said, Robert, he said, this is the first time people are fighting for me. He said, this is my life. This is the only thing I'm used to. I've been sent to prison 4 times for never committing a crime. And Robert left there, and he must have called me 10 times that night. It went from saying, like he kind of just, interested in how much time I'm spending on this thing to, like, Michael, why have you not got him out of prison so far? Like, how is he not out of prison so far? And I'll tell you something. I tell Robert this all the time. There was no bigger moment for Meek's situation for the 5.5 months he was in prison than when Robert Kraft, a rich white billionaire, gets up and speaks on Meek's behalf. That went everywhere in the world. And when Robert said this wasn't right, he got out of prison. I'm not saying the two are related, but Meek got out of prison a week later. So, and they are really good friends now. And they were friendly before this happened. And then Robert saw this injustice and he couldn't tolerate it. It was the same as me, except for he wasn't in court with me the first day it happened. He wasn't, Meek wasn't one of his best friends up front to just have that out-of-body reaction that I had.
So, I mean, we could talk about this for an hour, but in the couple of minutes we unfortunately have left, how you're the co-chair of the Reform Alliance, Jay-Z involved, obviously, Robert Kraft. We all hear the news of what's going on with the NFL. How real is this? People might be hearing this conversation. It's great that some Meek Mill was helped, but obviously there's many people of color who need assistance and attention being brought to this. How real is this alliance with the NFL, do you think?
There's two separate things. There's one is the Reform Alliance that I started together with Meek, Robert, and Jay-Z, and that's separate of what Jay is doing with the NFL.
Right.
Let me talk about the Reform Alliance because that's something I could speak about firsthand.
Sure.
The biggest thing that surprised me, so I'm a fighter. I'm an entrepreneur. My whole life, all I've done is fight to get to wherever I am, and that's the way I always will things to happen. So when Meek was in prison, the first thing we did was we hired multiple different investigators to go back and investigate the judge, her cases, the police. And what we learned very quickly, a cop came forward, one of the two arresting officers, and said, oh, no, he didn't point the gun. The whole thing's a lie. And we're like, what? This happened actually Super Bowl 2018. So I'm at the Super Bowl. I'm in Minneapolis, freezing my butt off.
Yeah.
Patriots are playing the Eagles, most awkward game in the world for me because Patriots are my guy, and Eagles are the team I grew up with.
Right.
And literally I found out everything Meek has ever told me, a police officer came forward and validated. And I called Meek. I said, yo, bro, I got great news. You're getting out of prison right away. And Meek's like, this is amazing. We got a cop to sign an affidavit saying you didn't actually point the gun. The whole arrest was a lie, which is what Meek always told me. It took another 3 months to get him out of prison after the cop came forward and said the whole thing was a lie. And that's when my conversation with Meek shifted from not how do we get you out of prison, but as soon as you get out of prison, how do we do something to help the millions of people that are stuck in the system? Sometimes things just happen for a reason. I say this to Meek all the time. Well, it sucks that he's been sent to prison 4 times for never committing a crime. There are 6.7 million people in the system today. 4.5 million of those people are on probation and parole, and that's the part of the system that really nobody was focused on. So the Reform Alliance that I started together with Meek, Jay-Z, Robert, Dan Loeb, Clara Sy, several other partners, Mike Novogratz, Laura Arnold. We've dedicated more than $50 million of our own money. We haven't brought in anybody. It's all of our own money to basically change the probation and parole law. So we're focused on doing 2 things. 1, changing the laws on a state-by-state basis. And 2, really getting the message out there from a marketing perspective. And take Pennsylvania, where I'm from and where Meek's from. This will blow your mind away. There's no cap on probation. So I tell Meek all the time, I think he's got the Guinness Book of World's Record for longest probation ever given to somebody. He was charged for committing a crime he didn't commit when he was 18. At 31, he'd been on probation for 12 years and had another 6 years left because in Pennsylvania, there's no cap on probation. So Meek could literally not. Meek did a concert outside of Philadelphia, and he got sent to prison for 90 days for doing that concert. So laws are broken. So what we want to do is stop people from being sent to prison for not committing crimes. 175,000 people a year go to prison for technical violations. They didn't commit a crime. A quarter of the people. So that's what we're about at the Reform Alliance.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download The Rich Eisen Show app.